Hope you guys are doing well. I want to thank you guys for subscribing to our channel, looking at our content. There's plenty of content out there in YouTube world, and basically, you guys choose to look at us probably because you like what we say, how we do things a little bit different here at Buitron Academy. And I want to talk to you about something and a question that was brought up yesterday. Um, That's what these videos are for, to answer certain questions out there. I want you guys to avoid the traps, okay? What do you mean by avoid the traps? You know, I'm training, I'm doing Savate, I'm working in Savate, I'm learning the system of Danse De Rue Savate, or whatever system that you can apply it to, American Kempo, Taekwondo, Hapkido, it really doesn't matter. When you get into and you start training a system, okay, not a style. I'm going to tell you the differences, and this is a way of my thinking. If you think this way, fine. If you don't, it's fine. I'm not here debating or telling somebody that they're doing something wrong. I'm just telling you all to avoid traps, especially in training, because we have a lot of great people that go into school and somewhere along the line they get lost. But they get lost because they frustrate themselves, because they get caught in a trap. And that's basically what this is for. Every martial art, if you do it correctly, under good tutelage, with a good pedagogy, you're going to produce good elements of society. Okay? But here I talk about Danse De Rue Savate, because Danse De Rue Savate, you know, I started at the age of 6. 54 years old. I want to be 55 in September. Next year, in September, that means I've been doing Savate, or training within the French martial arts, Savate, for 50 years. Imagine that. So a lot has changed since, and sometimes I go back into how my uncle trained us, and how Patorel trained me, how Viviani trained me, how Roger Lafont trained me, how Michel Gilbert trained me, how Richard Sela trained me in the ring, and kind of pick the ideas of what is needed to the instant that is now. Remember, I lived that life. Not only did I have clubs here, I have clubs outside the United States as well that I teach this pedagogy to. I also taught in France, okay? And to the day, I'm the only professor that was not born in France, teaching in France. Understand? Going back. So it was a little bit hard time. So you can imagine, yes, there was some testing going on. And testing, by what I mean by that is people would go in there to kind of test you, like little challenges here and there, trying to see if you really made it. Well, I put it to you this way: I never disrespected any of my professors, and I always came out okay. So besides all that, what am I talking about traps? I'm talking about traps in the way you train. Do not go to a training hall, do not go to a class thinking just because you train, you put on a uniform, you're learning. That's trap one, number one. A lot of people think that they come in from the outside, they come in here, they wear the uniform, and they're going to go ahead and all of a sudden all these magical powers and techniques, all of a sudden through osmosis, some kind of force was generated inside them. No, it doesn't happen that way. Second, do not build assumptions of things that you think are correct. I say that over and over and over, and I'm just going to do it this way. There's a lot of people that have their guard here. This is 100% guard. That they think because they saw somebody else, they can have their guard down here and they can fight. Well, you can be pretty good. Maybe that person's a natural. Maybe that person has been doing it for 30 years underneath his belt, 20 years underneath his belt, has 50 fights underneath his belt. But you don't. Okay? Remember, there's fads in the martial arts. Every karate school in the United States in the 80s started wearing black uniforms. Why? Because of the ninja craze. They all started wearing tabi boots to the ninja craze. There's a technique in Savate, you learn it in blue, in Danse De Rue Savate, it's called painful idea. Punch comes in, redirect the punch and go inside. You're hitting the fist with the elbow. It's going inside. There were different versions. My professor Patola does it this way. My professor Viviani did it upward. My uncle did it this way. We taught that. Many people in the martial arts said that was the stupidest thing to do. Guess what? Now everybody does that. Became a fad. It took 30 years. People saw it, the effectiveness. Somebody picked it up and said, oh boy, that works. But he saw it somewhere. Comes inside. Another technique. Gorging bull. Double parry, headbutt into the face, slam another headbutt into the mouth. It's blue glove level. People would say that's the most stupidest thing you can do. Headbutt somebody in the face. Really? You see it all over the place. Why? Because of YouTube. Right now, cameras have become, everybody has one. A video camera in the 90s, very few people had one at workshops and seminars or what have you, and you carried a big old VHS, and they went into the Super S, and they went into a digital, and they had little discs, DVDs, and mini DVDs. Okay. There's a lot of material like that. In fact, I got boxes of material that we used to just film. Now it costs more to convert. But regardless, let's talk about habits. Let's talk about the guard, and you think you're having it down here. And when you go to class, and the professor or your coach or initiador tells you, pick it up. Pick it up. They're telling you that for a reason. They're not insulting you, or they're telling you that you're doing something wrong. I'm seeing mistakes in you. I see mistakes in me that I kind of correct every time I come into class. So teaching me, I'm a professor that learns from his students. Okay, so you're recorrecting me. I'm out there correcting you all because I care about you all to do better. Okay, here comes the cross. From way back here, a person, or they'll pick it up this way and they'll throw it out. Well, it looks good in comic books, you know, Batman, and all of a sudden, pow, Superman. But that's telegraphy. And a lot of people get mad when you tell them that you're telegraphing a punch. Especially if they're from somebody else and you try to correct somebody else, they're going to say that you don't know what you're talking about. So I have stopped doing that. But to my students, those that come in, and I tell you that if you have you're going to go train somewhere else, ask your instructor what you're doing wrong and what you're doing right. If you're doing this and he tells you it's out of the shoulder, then you try to fix it. Go home and try to fix it. Look at yourself in the mirror. Try to see where you can go. You see? Inside. You see? Inside. I'm looking at you between the knuckles. That's the way it's done. It's not up here. It's not up here. It's not done here. Understand? Yeah, you can punch. Believe me that when we start, and those are the traps that get people to stop coming. You correct the person one time, you correct them twice. All of a sudden, their ego gets hurt, and they say, well, I don't want to go over there anymore. I already know what I'm doing. No, you're not. You're here for a reason. Not everybody knew how to drive. You were taught how to drive. And even though people are out there have a license, that still doesn't mean they know how to drive. That's why we have accidents all over the place. Some accidents, a true accident, is if something happened to the car and the wheel fell off and you couldn't control the vehicle and you hit somebody else. The brake lines went out of your car because for whatever reason, and you slammed in the car in front of you. You're still getting a ticket. Understand that? Why? Because you're supposed to have your mechanical device in strain. Well, the same thing happens when you train. You're here to train. You're here to learn. There's a difference between a school and a gym. A gym, I can pay $30, $40, $50, $70, whatever I want. I go whenever I want, do whatever I want, and nobody bugs me if I'm doing it right or wrong. And then all of a sudden I get hurt. It's your fault. But if you're going to take class, they're going to tell you you're doing it right, you're doing it wrong. Understand that. Savate is a martial art that takes years to get in there. Everybody says, oh, kicking is kicking, it's the same motion. Motion is motion. Bullshit, motion is motion. I can throw you a ball, I can roll a ball to you, I can toss it, I can bounce it. Okay? I can bounce it off a wall to hit to you. I can bounce it towards you. I can lop it up in the air. Or I can throw it to you like a baseball. There are different ways. All those are motions. So getting a ball to you is not all the same. So when people say, oh, the human body is built the same way, all martial arts are the same, that's somebody that never left the comic book stage of the martial arts. Those are the same people that are always talking about who's better. Is Superman stronger than Batman? No, Batman is going to lose because Superman, he has superpower. But wait a minute, what happens if Batman has on a kryptonite glove and a rocket up his ass? Who's going to win? Doesn't matter. Understand what I'm saying? What happens is when you go to class to learn. Appreciate what they're telling you, and that's how you're going to get better. Get a notebook. Write down all the techniques that you do. Okay, day one, I started training. We did a small combination: jab, cross, front leg, foot, and midsection. Write it down. Write down the descriptions of what it is. Oh, double jab, cross, double jab. Write it down. Practice it at home. Oh, guess what? Today in class I learned that I have to be on my toes and moving in a circle. Well, be on your toes and move in a circle. Now, being on my toes, does that mean that I'm just standing on my toes, or does it mean that I'm bouncing around on my toes, or what does being on my toes mean? Pay attention. It's there for a reason. All right? Hopefully this video came to you in a good manner. Might click a little bit in the head. Understand a little bit about training. Because when people say, I'm going to go train, it's one thing. I'm going to go learn, it's another. I'm going to go to class, it's another. I'm going to go work out, that's another. It's not the same thing. So understand that. Differentiate yourself by that. And little by little you can grow. We have a lot of wonderful things coming up with the Guild. Next week we have our 34th annual Passage of God. That's 34 years of testing in June, consecutively. We even tested during the bat suit flu season, okay? And those that are testing learn, especially hopefully you guys listen a little bit, learn to see what's going on, okay? Because a lot of people might say, no, I'm not learning right, I'm not doing this right. Again, get a notebook, write down everything that you're doing. Ask questions. Hey, professor, I don't know this. The tests are there. It's open for everybody. The tests have not changed since 1994. They've been the same. Nothing's changed. Been the same thing, same curriculum. Okay? So if you're learning something, learn it and keep it learning it. Keep it as a learned subject in muscle memory. Okay? That's something that I'll touch base with later on. About training and muscle memory and so on and so forth. That's another subject matter that will go on. Plenty of videos. Check out our content. I'm going to put a couple of technique videos that you can look at. Till next time, much peace.